welcome everybody to the second of many events, a series of events for the GLAMers. This workshop the study is youth audience engagement during COVID, as you know, and this particular workshop will feature 5 speakers in a couple of different blocks and some hands-on activities that we're going to use to help you explore the themes we're touching on today. So get ready to sort of use your brain and your body and listen actively. And at any point, if what we're doing doesn't make sense, raise your hand, speak up, unmute, go into chat. Let us know. The most important thing to us is that you're here and you feel good, and you learn and contribute what you can. So with that, as a preamble, I'm going to share my screen. I'll set the stage a little bit and then hand it over to our speakers for the first block of work. Great speakers today. We'll start out, well, I'll take you through the schedule in a second, but this is where you are, and I'm kind of the host and DJ and workshop designer. I've been working in museums and with technology for 20 or 30 years now. Founded a couple of museums and museum projects and was the Smithsonian Institution's director of web and new media strategy as we were making our transition from a closed academic model of knowledge creation to one that was open and connected and based on sharing, based on the principles of the open web. Goals for today. We want everyone, and I think Katerina will tell you, the architect of this study that today's event is based on, we want everyone to think more about digital youth engagement in the pandemic. Why does it matter? What's being done and how do we do it better? That's the big meta goal. Through Katerina and her colleagues' research, they identified 4 themes that ran through about 90 projects they found in Europe. Those themes are the use of easy technologies in projects, the designing for tactile hands-on activities by young people, this pattern we call make, share, and show. Have your participants make something, share it with each other, and then you show it in your own gallery or on your own website. And then this last theme of institutional change will pick up at the very end after you've had a chance to process a little bit. We want you in this number 3 to, it's one thing to hear experts talking, it's another thing to start working with ideas with your own hands and with your own subject matter. So for the middle part of the workshop, we're going to walk you through a series of exercises where you'll work with other participants today to adapt these 4 themes to your own work in your own museum and talk each other through your ideas. In my experience, that's where most of the learning and insight comes from, and plus you'll get to meet some really interesting people. Meta goals. Meet cool people, learn from each other, create more project for more kids, better projects, better outcomes for everyone, and make some change. We'll get to that really at the end. Flow of the day. We'll start out with about an hour of first with a warm-up and then 4 short talks, take a little break, do some hands-on sharing, DIY exercises. Then we'll have a final kind of thoughtful speaker about change, followed by discussion, Q&A, and a wrap-up. If you need help, I'm here. Katerina Zoru is here, the architect of all of this. Tamara Van Holst from Europeana, who I think Tamara was showing as event host or something like that with her screen name, but she's in there. You can chat, raise your hand, speak up, anything you need. The most important thing is that you're here and you're cool. If you have issues with community care, conduct, anything, please contact us right away. I don't expect any problems. Please do set your screen name in Zoom to however you'd like to be addressed. Some of you using corporate accounts, you come in as the Museum of Fine Arts. So set it to your name, how you people want people to address you. That will help facilitate interaction with your peers. Be comfortable, loose and relaxed. If a child comes home, if a pet wants to get scratches, if you need to get up and stretch a little bit, please go ahead. It's been a long pandemic, and mostly learn from each other. That's really what it's all about. The GLAMers project has been using a hashtag, the GLAMers, galleries, libraries, archives, museums, of course. And the website that's kind of the hub for this session, videos from the previous talks that we had a few weeks ago, information about upcoming work, and mostly the report with its amazing infographic and 15 easy to use one-pagers are all available at the GLAMers, GLAMers. That's not edu, it's glamers.eu. I'm going to edit that live right now because that's just wrong. Okay, speakers. This is the kind of the lightning round. 4 speakers, 9 minutes each. I'm going to be a real enforcer and start waving my arms around when we get close to 9 minutes and then cut people off at 9. Speakers are so enthusiastic, rightly so, about their own work that they want to make sure you hear everything they've done. But we'll keep things moving and we'll hold questions to the end, but feel free to put questions in the chat and also to use the Q&A button in the Zoom interface. So without further ado, let me introduce Katerina Zaru, who is the founder and director of Web2Learn and the initiator and instigator and architect of this, the GLAMers study. Katerina, take it away. I'm going to stop sharing and give it to you. Oops, and you're on mute. And
hello.
If you want to, for attendees, if you want to set your view to side-by-side speaker, that will highlight Katerina's face in a picture, and everyone else mute.
Thank you.
Eliana, go ahead and mute. Thanks. All right, it's all yours, Katerina.
Hello, Katerina. A very short introduction about the GLAMers project. The full title is Enhancing GLAMs, Galleries, Libraries, Archives, Museums through Youth Engagement during this pandemic. I'm the head of Web2Learn Greece, and before I share this short talk with you, let me thank Europeana team, Tamara, and Gina for giving us the floor to the GLAMers project to share and discuss recovery of GLAMs and how youth can help in this direction. And I would like to warmly thank Mike Peter Edson for his talent in facilitation, of course, and his long experience in the cultural heritage sector. So a sincere thanks on behalf of the GLAMers partnership. And this is very important to say that I'm not at all alone. We are a network of partners. The coordinator is the Technical University of Cyprus, and other partners of the consortium are Michael Cultural Association in Belgium and France, Citizens in Power in Cyprus, and the Museum of Arts and Crafts. Vedrana and Marta will be also speakers as GLAMer experts today. So this is the GLAMers and Erasmus Plus KA2 project that will end in 2023. The objectives, in short, is to gather and share examples of youth engagement in this pandemic in which GLAMs have been severely hit, and to share practical insights on how GLAMs can recover through youth engagement, and also offer interactive training sessions, the first of which is today. Through this process of knowledge exchange, it is also an opportunity to identify the challenges and opportunities that the sector faces. On the long term, we wish to transfer expertise to GLAM stakeholders but also to facilitate the knowledge sharing as we do today. This is very important, not on a top-down approach, but more on a collaborative, participatory approach. We see youth engagement as a means to support resilience of the cultural and creative sector. And this is something that I would like to emphasize because it is somehow missing from the discourse and the type of actions that are often offered to the cultural and creative sector. We mostly think of, okay, infrastructures or skills. Of course, skills are very important, but how about reconnecting to citizens and reconnecting to youth as a means to help the recovery of this of the cultural creative sector. Why does this matter? Well, first of all, youth matters a lot in GLAMs. It seems that the studies about youth audience engagement is somehow limited, but also that now currently youth has a very different role that it used to be some decades ago. So in terms of action taking, digital activism, and means to voice concerns, thoughts, we have several technologies that facilitate this action taking by youth. Think of hackathons, for instance, initiatives such as digital volunteering, maker culture, like 3D printing, for instance, open innovation, and all these crowd-based initiatives. So now is the moment really to connect things that may not be directly connected from the outside, but indeed they are. The youth activism for climate change or for social and for social matters or for social topics, and also GLAM recovery. So youth engage with technologies for sure, but we should perhaps try to look at the social value they bring in the cultural heritage sector as a whole. Why not? Many studies have emphasized the impact of the pandemic in the sector. The network of European museum organizations, ICOM, of course, Europeana, through studies and through training sessions, definitely. I will be very, very brief to say how the GLAMers project gives some insights or training into recovery of GLAMs. We started by collecting information on how GLAM use technologies to enter into more intensive interaction with youth. So we started with a desktop research and with discussions and surveys with GLAM experts. And then we wanted to identify really original practices that European GLAMs have carried out as a response to the pandemic through youth engagement. So we have set 5 main selection criteria. We wanted to depict practices that have been designed as a response to the pandemic. We wanted these practices to be very engaging for youth. We wanted these practices to ease the access through, easy or free of charge technologies. And we wanted that the GLAM enters in interaction between the collection of the GLAM and the context and the citizens, and also as a 5th criterion that the practice allows self-expression. This is how we came into a collection of 15 that we consider 15 original practices of GLAMs, European GLAMs during the pandemic. Some of them have been, we had the chance with Michael to host some of the speakers in our September webinar, which is recorded, by the way, and you are kindly invited to listen or see whenever you have the time. Today we have another group of speakers of these 15 selected practices. And we analyze all of the practices according to these 5 criteria. This is one of the page of this study that we have created. And these are some of the examples. I won't take long into the analysis. I would like to emphasize that this is not a proper study, but because we insist in collaboration and knowledge exchange, we have identified advice of GLAM experts to other GLAM stakeholders as a means to facilitate the interaction. And I would like to close this very short talk with sharing the link to this publication of these 15 exemplary practices that are followed by infographics in 5 languages. And this will be my final talk, that this today is the first event, the first training event of a series of training events and workshops. The next will take place on November 11 with 4 distinguished speakers among the 15 selected practices. Please register if you would like to attend. And from the GLAMers Consortium, we can give you a certificate of participation for today's training session. I hope it wasn't very long, Mike.
Oh, that was awesome and perfect. And I think, boy, you touched on some really amazing points. And I get emotional when I hear you talking about the new role that young people have in society now, different than many years ago. Katerina, the Web2Learn's specialty is education and new forms of education for young people. So I think she says that from a position of great authority and observation. And then also this theme of allowing for self-expression, which is laced through all of Katerina's work and through the examples you'll see. So straight into the next speaker, Peter Art. Peter is the head of audience participation and communication at SMAC, the Municipal Museum of Contemporary Art in Ghent, Belgium. Peter's responsibilities are somewhat unusual, as he's responsible for audience engagement, education, and communication at the museum. Peter also teaches at Studio Communication Design in Antwerp. Peter, the floor is yours.
Hi, Michael.
Share
Thank
screen.
you. Yes.
You're welcome.
I'll share screen first and see that we can explain a bit what we've been doing the past few months. Here we go. Can everybody see the screen? I guess so. There we go.
Yes, that's great.
I'm not going to explain what SMAC as a museum is. What is essential is that it's a museum of contemporary art, that we have about 2,600 pieces in collection. And an important detail, which is not longer a detail, is that our museum is not suited to present a big part of the collection whole of the time. And that is where the original idea came from, to start with an audible museum. The idea of having the collection works as audio plays and building a collection in audio is something that originated from a project that we did a couple of years ago during summer, where we organized an audio museum as a way to bring children together with deaf children, with normal children, and give them the experience of other senses, and then learn to explore what art could be in your own head, in your imagination, in your imagination. With COVID not giving us any means anymore to visit the museum, we were thinking of ways of trying to connect again with our audience and to lower this threshold of contemporary art, which is still here, and to try and reach out again. And if people can't come to us, we would like to come to you. That was the idea, and trying to involve children and also through them touching their parents. we had a lot of colleagues here in the museum, and probably everybody recognizes suddenly you were at home with your children, and what can you actually still do with them, having them around all day, putting them in front of a screen was not a good idea, because screen time, increasing screen time at home seemed like an irresponsible thing to do. So the insight was, when children are spending so much time on their screen, why not try and get them out of their couch and do something else? A screen might be a means of actually getting them outside. So we put a stronger focus on the physical experience. And in doing so, we had the opportunity to show a human face of the museum again. So we're not anonymous, an anonymous end of the internet anymore. No, we wanted to bring them back out in the streets and around the area and the park surrounding the museum. The Imaginary Museum was based on the audio plays that we started a couple of years ago. And every year we have 3 to 4 new plays that we add. And the wish is to extend this into a series of plays. Now, along the way, we found out that this becomes a very useful tool to connect with children in different situations and occasions. So what we did is create a tour in the park surrounding the museum, activated the museum through QR codes, created a tour that they could do. So the only thing they had to do was or download the plan or use the plan they could find online, and then tour them through the gardens. Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
Peter, I'm sorry, Michael, are you intending to be advancing through your slides?
Yep, here we go.
Oh, okay.
This is the app that we use. That's an essential part of...
the screen that we're seeing only shows your first slide.
Oh, how is that possible? Oh.
I don't know, but maybe try stop sharing and reshare and make sure you're pointed at the right screen. Because your slides are awesome.
If it was working, oops, it should be up again. And now?
Perfect. That's the one.
Perfect again? Okay.
Okay. Carry on.
Oops, here we go. So this was announced on the website. That's the tool we used. When we use technology, we always try to do existing technology, and our website is like a toolbox where we can add stuff. So also audio files. If you add the audio files on the website, it's easy to access with a QR code. And we used an existing app, which is called the Heritage app, which is widely used in Flanders, as a means to easily access all these different points. So you can see on the map where all the QR codes are located. So it's another tool that you can easily use and give to people to finally go into the park, use the app to scan the audio plays, listen to them, get more content online if you wish to, and go to the park as a play if you want. It's like a search and play. It's more of a treasure hunt rather than actually a passive action. It's something that you do with your family, with your friends. These pictures were taken in bad weather. So the compelling stories, of course, are essential in making it work. And that's what we put most of the effort in. Create good stories, good production. Once you have these, you can put them online, use existing technologies to create access in different situations and with different meanings. So the next step will be to use these audio plays in schools, for example, so that we can extend again the usage of these audio plays and how you can interact with children. That's a bit more than 10 minutes, I've seen. Oops.
Michael, you are muted.
You were, yeah.
I was going to say, go ahead, since you have a couple minutes left, go back up and reshare some of the slides from the beginning of your
still
talk.
have minutes left.
Yeah, you do, man. You're a rock star. You're a rock star.
In that case.
At least, if, yeah.
Again. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let them see the first couple of
Here we go.
slides there.
Yeah. So I don't know whether everybody's seen the beginning since these were working. There we go. Yeah. So this one is
Yeah.
so the strong emphasis on the physical. The human side is very important to us, that we're not an institute, that we're accessible, that we're human in what we do, that we're talking and not and connecting. That's essential for us. This is the homepage where you could find the explanation of the show, of the audio plays. This is where you end up with if you go to the website using the QR code, for example. Yeah. There we go. This is in the park surrounding the museum. There we go. This is important to give people tools to use it. So during the lockdown period, we had posters hanging outside the museum with the QR code, for example. So you could easily go to the museum, scan the code up, and you were off. We always try to do different media. So tactile print, with digital combined. So not only monomedia kind of stuff. This was the app I was talking about. You could easily use every QR code reader. Once you have this in place, it's still an easy way to access. You could use also visual recognition if you wanted to. But the basis is the same. You have a simple, well-written, well thought out idea concept. You build and elaborate on it. You use existing technology, and then see where you go from there.
Stop there, man. You totally have me sold. That is a really beautiful lesson, and plays really well into what we're going to talk about later in the workshops. And in Peter's last talk for the GLAMers, he kind of said at SMAC, we if something's a little out of fashion or a little out of vogue or not cool anymore, we use it. And if something's really vogue and super super hot, we don't do it anymore. We're a little bit rebellious that way, and I think that spirit really shows through. So thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Go ahead and unshare. And our next speaker, Marta Kulis Arelisa and Vedrana Sarjana from the Museum Education Department at the Museum of Arts and Crafts in Zagreb, Croatia. Very impressive people, as are all our speakers. In addition to being a museum educator, Marta holds a degree in history of art and is a professor of English language and literature. She worked as an English teacher for several years with various age groups and was a coordinator and organizer of the program for kindergarten. She's the author of thematic workshops for children and organized exhibitions of contemporary artists and photographers. And since 2017, she's been working in the education department of the Museum of Arts and Crafts, MUO, in Zagreb. Her colleague Vedrana Sarjana has degrees in art history and education science, and she's also worked as a museum educator at the museum since 2020. So you two, take it over. The floor is yours.
Hello.
Hello. Thank
Hi.
you, Michael, for introduction. I'm Vedrana from Museum of Arts and Crafts in Zagreb, and I would like to welcome all the participants on our today's presentation, in which you will hear more about hands-on approach from our experience, which went through, as we like to say, double trouble. First one was and still is related to the COVID situation, and the second one was and also still is related to the earthquake situation. How we managed it and what good came out of it, you'll hear during our today's presentation. My colleague Marta will be the speaker today, so Marta, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello. So we will share our screen. Just a second. Okay. Can you see it? Yes?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, I will say just a few words about our museum. So the museum was founded in 1880s, and is one of the largest artistic museum in Croatia. We have about more than 100,000 artifacts in our holdings, and we hold also 22 collections, which are very different, such as ceramics, metal, glass, design, clocks, paintings, and sculpture. Okay, and now we'll go a little bit through our presentation and the whole situation, the whole situations we all found ourselves in. So just a second, how to design and create hands-on activities for young people via online platforms. Okay, of course, the whole situations is that the new way of communications with the audience appeared. So if you observe the communications with the museum visitors, up till now we had also we just had a live communication with the museum audience, and even in the broader sense with the entire GLAM sector. But this COVID-19 situation has turned us all in a completely new direction, which was a virtual approach and a virtual communication with the museum public. Besides this COVID-19 situation, Museum of Arts and Crafts, we like to call it, had a double trouble. We also had a very damaging earthquake, which caused enormous damage to our museum. So it also forced us to make a transformation in the current approach to the museum audience, and we had to completely turn to the digital direction over the course of the next 6 months, as the museum was closed to the public for the first time in the history of the museum. And there were also the moments, these were the moments where we had to realize this synergetic action of the museum staff and rapid learning of the new skills in the fields of informatics and technology. So we are happy to mention that our agenda in the museum is an example of the good practice we found ourselves in, and and these extreme conditions allowed only a virtual relationship with the museum audience and a possible future audience to be. So there was a weekly plan of publications that was thought out and designed in this situation with the marketing and PR department, which is also, among other things, in charge of leading and creating programs for more social networks that differed thematically each day, and it had to be educational and fun at the same way. Okay, so we were thinking about new ways of communicating with the audience, and we designed a plan or a concept of program that would operate in a virtual way. We also had a digitalized heritage, technical and IT knowledge and skills. What we needed was really, we needed digitalized heritage and technical and IT knowledge and skills in implementing the program in that way, which was really a challenge we found ourselves faced with. And among the first questions we asked ourselves at the time was how to make the best of the use of existing digitalized heritage. We, for example, had a virtual tour of the museum's permanent display at that time, which was possible thanks to the large international project we were a part of. And in addition, which you can see here in our photo, in addition to the virtual tour of the museum, we had a digitalized heritage with images, titles, and basic catalog information. But then later on, we realized how much information is actually vague to the museum public because it didn't have a context. So we needed to present a clearer context in terms of interpretation. So that we believe that the objects from our art collection should be presented to the audience educationally and interactively, because in this way we teach observers how to look at the works of art and not just to evoke aesthetic pleasure. Okay, and now here we have our hands-on activities. So the communication of the educational department with the audience of the Museum of Arts and Crafts in this so-called new normal period, and especially in the period when the museum was completely closed down, it took place exclusively through social networks. So we added a sub-menu of the online workshops, and it was created on our official website, where new creative tasks of the educational department were published once a week on Fridays, and these tasks were communicated through the social networks of the Museum of Arts and Crafts in the form of announcing and sharing the link that led to the mentioned sub-menu where the creative task was. The tasks were designed to follow the current events in the museum, and also for the visitor to gain a new knowledge on the subject through entertainment. At that time, when the museum was closed and with no new exhibitions, the idea of the theme, there was the idea of the theme of the month, which was implemented, which was connected to our collection. So each month we had the themes which were connected to one of our collections. The creative task of the educational departments was focused on presenting objects of a certain stylistic period or a certain collection to which this month was dedicated to. Each creative tasks had to have a likable title, which gives a short textual introduction to the context of the period and is often compared to the object from the holdings with an interesting, well-known object of the artistic value or from everyday life. And now we have our example of hands-on activity, 1, 2, 3 caught, where we, with this creative task, the goal was to introduce visitors and the public to the concept of moment photography, perhaps abstract to lay persons, and invite them to record the stopped movement, in other words, to create their own moment photography and thus adopt a new concept by active implementation of knowledge. Here we have some examples with the photographs from our museum holdings, which were examples of moment photography, and the photographs that we got as a result or the answer to our creative tasks were sent to us by email. And you can see here captured moments. Okay, the project goals, both for a young audience and organizations, was to ensure communication with the audience and general public, to make the tasks easy, fun, stimulating, and adapted for various age groups, and the materials necessary for the realization, that the materials necessary for the realizations were available at home. This was during the pandemic. So at that time, of course, there were lots of lockdowns, so people couldn't even go to the stores. This is why we were thinking about the materials that were available at home.
Go ahead and wrap it up. Go ahead and wrap it up, Marta and Verdrana.
Okay, so the impact of pandemic in our project was that we had to turn to other means of communicating with the public, and 3 challenges we faced were adaptation to completely new way of communication, lack of feedback, inability to self-evaluate the quality of the content, and of course we have the advice that we can give to the people, is that working in the educational department as mediators between the museum audience and the offered museum content and experiencing live communication with the audience as well as the virtual one, we believe that the museums as places of memories also have to go hand in hand with the newest trends and technology to additionally maintain the visibility and availability online and to present some content via new technology and contemporary approach.
Well done. Deep breath. Yeah, that was great. And you got a lot of love in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
The simplest concepts are the best. I'm telling you. And
Yes,
great.
we really agree with that, because since we work with children mostly, the children react best at the ideas which are simple and very creative.
Well, those are words to live by. And I definitely want to ask you a question in the Q&A to come, or at the very end, about this statement that lack of ability to self-evaluate the content. That's
Okay.
very interesting. And maybe some of our other speakers or participants can weigh in on that as well. So thank you. Go ahead and unshare. And
Okay.
let's go to the final speaker in this block before we do a little Q&A. Maria Vahasaria has a master's in art education and works as a museum educator at EMMA, the Espoo Museum of Modern Art in Espoo, Finland. Go ahead and take the floor, Maria.
Thank you. Let me share. I hope my my slides are visible to you now.
Looks great.
Yeah, okay, good. So, hi all, I am Maria Vahasaria and I work as a museum educator, as you mentioned, in EMMA. Espoo is 10 minutes away from the capital of Finland, Helsinki. And now I'm here to tell you about our experiences in a special program called Art Break that we held virtually last winter. First, a few words about our museum. We are located in Espoo, and here you see our special venue, designed by architect Arno Ruusuvuori. We present modern and contemporary art, and here's a few of the facts. We have several collections on display and around 100,000 visitors annually. Our education and customer services team is finding all the time new and active ways to engage with our audiences, enabling encounters and discussion around art. Program is held mainly next to the art in exhibition space by participatory and interactive ways. Art Break is a program which is arranged in cooperation with students of art education at the Aalto University's School of Arts. And actually next week will be our following Art Break week. Despite the fact that we have a lot of space to keep distance, we had to come up with new solutions during last winter. So we launched Art Break in Zoom platform. Here's a picture of our studio. We tried to concentrate thinking about communication by enabling reactions, chat, and safe private group where you had to pre-book your place. Here's a few detailed pictures of the Art Break. And we did it by showing a slideshow and a video where you could kind of show closer what to do. With the planning, it was important to concentrate in easy, accessible and playful and positive ideas. Materials had to be found from homes. The only tool you needed was your imagination. Here's a picture of a day, if furniture could talk, emoji day, where Ines, our teacher, told us about her cat's favorite place and what if the chair would think if it could speak. And the ideas had to be such that they could carry on in families and in the daily life. As a result, we did reach geographical equality. It was great to hear people and have them with us from all around Finland. And we had families coming back in several days participating in the project. And there were several posts and comments in social media, but even more meaningful was that we could create ideas that could carry on in homes, such as making paper pizzas and paper money to pay and play with. So actually, it seems that like I have gone quite fast forward. So that was all. I'm happy to answer some questions if you have already or then later on.
Well, I think that was fantastic. And I'm still reeling from the If Furniture Could Talk emoji day. And go ahead and unshare your screen and let's go into about 10 minutes of Q&A with all of the speakers. But let's start with you, Maria. I think when one of the questions I have is, were you already doing a lot of virtual programs for the geographically dispersed population of Finland before the pandemic hit? Did you already have some capacity and ideas to do this before the pandemic hit? Or did you have to learn all of this from scratch?
We started all of it from the step one. And
wow.
Yeah, and then we just put our heads together and found the platforms that people were using all around. And in Espoo schools, they didn't accept Zoom, for example. We had to use Teams. So we had two platforms going on for the guided tours, virtually held. But then for this art break, because it was not like service for schools, we decided to keep it in Zoom. And then we just tried out how to work with it. And well, we ran to some problems, but in the end, we were very happy with the solution. And we decided to record the first 15 minutes, that was the slideshow, and the instructions to each day's ideas. And then we stopped recording, and then we could open up this private classroom with the participants.
Wow. Please, in the room, everyone, raise your hand digitally or with your actual hand, or put a question in chat if you have a chat. But I have a question, and there's a lot of love between you and Vedrana and Marta, between your institutions going on. It seems like you guys know each other or have visited each other's museums. Vedrana and Marta, I want to go back to the question we touched on at the end of your talk, which is this statement that kind of we had to learn, we weren't able to self-evaluate what we were doing. That hits close to home for me and a lot of us. Can you talk a little bit about what you meant when you made that statement?
Obviously, when we were putting the content online, it was visible for everyone, and at the time, there were a number of similar content that was visible online at that particular period. So it was impossible really to see the reactions of the people, and the only thing that we could see is the reach and the likes. Through these tasks that we gave, we sometimes didn't have the answers or the feedback that we usually get when we have live communication with children. So this was really a problem, because that was why we weren't really we were unable to self-evaluate the content and the quality that we presented. So we were just hoping that it was visible, and that it was, I mean, I don't know, it was good for the children.
That really does hit close to home, and is probably much more difficult with children than with certain other age groups.
Yes, but we
Yeah.
really like working with children. They're they're the simplest audience. They're easy to entertain if you if you know how to hit the right buttons.
Can I ask a question then? And then I want to go to Peter for a second. What are some of the right buttons?
It has to be fun and entertaining. A lot of drama, acting out. It just has to be fun. A lot of games, even music and creativity.
I was designing a big project for the United Nations, and we were thinking we were designing for young people, mostly kind of teenagers. And someone from a big media company, Vice News, who does Motherboard and very big broadcaster, looked at what we were doing and said, no one in my audience will care at all about what you're doing. It's no fun at all. So it's not just young children, it's older adults also.
Yeah, yes, it's important. It's important.
Peter, it seems like your events are a lot of fun. Actually, and I can't even see you. I don't know that you're plugged in. But if you are there, I'm very curious if you all kind of design for that fun factor intentionally. And if Peter's not, if he had to step away, maybe Katerina, that's something you can talk about, if that's a theme you saw running through the research.
It's difficult for me to answer, because I do not consider myself as a cultural heritage expert, but thanks for asking nevertheless. I would really ask an expert also from the audience to answer. And I have also another question on the chat, because I'm very eager to learn.
Please go ahead and ask the question.
Yes, the question is, it's great to embrace youth action and everything that comes with youth, as Marta and Vedran was saying, the fun, the eagerness to jump, the eagerness to share, to listen to music, to go beyond the borders of an institution. How do you manage these unexpected situations that may arise?
Maria, or, Vedrana, go ahead.
We often like to invite children to start singing during the creative
creative act, yes, moment.
Act.
With children, you always have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
So I think it comes with the practice also, but you have to have it in you. I mean, you have to understand children, you have to like and love children in order to understand their way of thinking. And you have to be a child of your, in your own skin also.
That's an awesome answer.
Yes, how good a child of you.
That is an awesome answer. And I saw you got a thumbs up from Jen S., who is someone I know who is an outstanding youth librarian from America. So she must see that as well. Our next speaker is Eric Bogustin. I'm going to read his crazy, diverse and accomplished sort of introduction, and then I'm going to play his video. He's pre-recorded a video, and then we'll have a Q&A with Eric and open it up to the other panelists. Hopefully just have a really good conversation. So Eric Bogustin is a senior advisor at the National Library of the Netherlands. He's a board member of Storyhouse in Chester, UK, and he'll talk a little bit about Storyhouse after his video. He mentions it. He's a School of Library Information Science Fellow in the USA, consultant to Public Libraries 2020, and a founding father of Public Libraries 2030. He's the facilitator and consultant for IFLA, the International Federation of Library Associations, and the owner of Sanichi Media, producer of This Week in Libraries and Sanichi Tours. And he's a global library motivator, musician, and author, children's book author, among other things. There it is. Nice. I'm a proud owner of that book. He's a library journal mover and shaker of the Library World 2009, and he was recognized as the best librarian in the Netherlands in 2015. So sit back, and we have Eric's video. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen.
With sound, Michael. Don't forget the sound.
With sound. And here we go, baby.
Good afternoon, morning, night, whatever time you're watching this. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you so much, Michael, for asking me to join in and say a few minutes, spend a few minutes on talking about youth engagement, young audience engagement in libraries and maybe others, museums, theaters, whatever we have as a cultural sector to offer to those young kids. Let me see if I can share screen. There we go. Starting up. As you can see, I work at the National Library of the Netherlands. It's a great, beautiful building in The Hague, hosting the IFLA, Europeana, different partners, and with a lot of people. We're working every day on creating the best possible cultural institutions that we can. Personally, I have been a librarian my whole life, besides being a musician and an author of children's books. I try to build best libraries in the Netherlands and abroad. One of the jobs I do is innovation in libraries. Libraries can ask me to join in and help them set up new innovative projects. And this also brings me quite often in touch with programs for young adults and children services. I also maintain an international network. I'm involved in the board of Storyhouse in Chester, the UK. We'll get to that a little later. And fellow to the University of David Lancaster in the US, trying to look at librarian education, library school, and that sort of thing. I traveled around the world, visiting libraries, mapping best practice, sharing knowledge, and that's still a large part of what I do also at the National Library. I try to see what goes on and how to implement this in our own libraries. Because, well, you heard about this earlier in the afternoon. There's a lot going on with AI, with different technologies, with the climate, and all the things that are out there. The disinformation. We have very, very, very rich people saying things such as this. Human language will be obsolete in as little as 5 years. How is all those messages coming across to our young kids? Knowing and hearing that they have to do with control, with corona passports, with surveillance and everything else. And not all the information they get is information that is well, just right, or whatever we call it. There's a lot of misinformation, and this also has an effect on democracy and democratic processes, and it makes me worried. And with all the ugliness that's going on and all the worries and all the the speed of the news in which we take it to us. It's a worry, but there's also hope, and there are some great people around the world working on hope, creating hope. And Jane Cowell, a good friend in Australia, is implementing the SDGs in library services and promoting to adopt as many as we can and use our spaces to help build better worlds locally. Jean Tan, a very good friend in Singapore, I stole this slide from, he sees the library as a theater of issues. Why not put in the libraries all the challenges that we're faced with and get people involved, talk about them, and also come up with solutions. Make a showroom for those solutions and really give the future to the people. I know that, I think it was Frey who once said, like, you know, the only way to know the future is to create it, to build it today. And we need to involve those kids. I know of examples, for instance, where in a sort of gamification way, library users are involved in determining cancer cells because the doctors don't have the time to do it themselves. And if this helps, and it's a good way. My motto would also be like if libraries are for keeping stories, sharing stories, and making stories, we need to facilitate that. We need to curate curiosity. And if we get a young generation that is this curious and is looking at science and is reading, is taking in information, then we'll create a generation of critical thinkers. But critical thinkers in a constructive way. I mean, that is so important. We found out some surveys show that the people who vote, the majority of them goes to the public library. The library has a mission there. We have to look in our future and we have to take care of digital inclusion. We all think that young people are very well digitally skilled, but they're not. I mean, they know how to use their phone and to do Facebook or whatever, but there's so much more out there that we can help them with. I know that in Scotland, as you can see here, there was a report recently published about creating spaces for kindness. Carnegie is working on focus on well-being in libraries. Get to the library to think about what sort of world you want to create, that you want to live in. It all involves to make people realize, like if you love where you live, you have to be part of it. And I did a boot camp with Nina Simon, the famous museum expert from California, who wrote a book called Participatory Museum. But the boot camp of By for All brought a change about. I mean, they're still talking about it in the Netherlands. How do we engage our young people or our user in general in our services and taking ownership of our institutions? In Aarhus, together with Chicago, they designed this toolkit for libraries on design thinking. Same way, how do you involve your people? Maybe some quick examples for Michael for the pandemic. We did a program called Huisarrest. People were inside in quarantine, and writers would tell stories, replacing themselves in the head of children who were at this square in a village and shouting through the windows their stories. There's a program called Hip Hop in the Beep, giving money, a budget to young adults in creating their own hip hop programs, music, lyrics, writing, text writing, and everything else. There's, of course, the LGBTQ communities in libraries that are more and more being recognized and given a platform. Book Talk is enormously fantastic and is creating much more young people promoting reading. They still go mostly to the shops, which is strange, not to the libraries. There's still some work to be done over there. But in using all those facilities and really listening, I think, listening to our users. A student called me and said, I'm crazy of working from home and I'm always getting scared of people in the streets that run into me and started talking to me. I sort of fenced myself off, and she wanted to come up with an app to communicate with students that she may not even know, but just to keep on the conversation
Young
going.
Story House.
I want to just stop this for a second. Like I said, I was on the board at Story House, and I want to give a minute, because that's such a great example, to my fellow board member, Amy, who is part of this Young Story House group. And she's explaining what they do in Chester, in England, at Story House.
Young Story House is basically lots of different groups within Story House for young people to get involved with. So we have young marketers, young programmers, a youth theatre, and it all means that young people can get involved. So young marketers, they get to help out with the marketing team. Young programmers, they get to help program some of the things we show at Story House. So it's just a great way for young people to get involved. And then Young Catalysts is representatives from all of those Young Story House groups, and they come together and we do a different theme each term, and we'll get someone to come and talk to them about that area of Story House, and then they get to go away, think about it, and then come back, and they come back with lots of great ideas on improvements we can make at Story House and things that they want to see happen at Story House. So it's just a really great way for all of the people in the Young Story House groups to then sort of make changes in Story House and mold it into the Story House that they want it to be.
Like I said, I mean, they do amazing work, and they really have an influence on the way the building is run and the services are being done. I want to close off with this. This is an example that I saw one day when I came on the airport in Dublin, traveling to the city. And I think this is very true. And this relates also to the inside of my beloved Story House, where when they have Children's Hospital Week, they bring all the kids from the hospital to the library, theater, cinema, and cafe restaurant that it is. And they write on the wall, "I'm not defined by my scars, but by my incredible ability to heal." And I think if we can share that message of hope to the people out there and facilitate them and give them a place and a sense of belonging to the cultural sector and to our libraries, museums, theaters, whatever, then it helps them to create the world they want to live in next. Thank you so much, and I'll be around here for questions and talk to you in person. Unmute.
Thanks, virtual Eric.
I hate listening to myself. I have 10 minutes, Michael. Then I have to run.
No, you have less than 10 minutes. We're going to share this 10 minutes among, that 10 minutes. Yeah, we're going to share this 10 minutes among the other participants. So everybody unmute and we'll go into Q&A. And I have a question for Eric. Eric, you have mentioned to me a number of times, and as we were doing our sort of warm up before the event began, that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but absolutely the best way to catalyze change within your organization is to put young people in charge, give them real authority. Did I get that right?
Yes, Michael, so much. And like I said, Story House was brought in like very quickly. You go to storyhouse.com, check out their website and see what it is. It's a theater, it's a museum, it's a cinema, it's a cafe, a restaurant, and it's all together, one organization. And they have this group, Young Story House, that really runs for a part of the building. They get a budget, and it really helped to bring the different disciplines together, the theater and everything, the library. And so I use this quite often in other countries, in the Netherlands, in other libraries who want to work together with museums or with other cultural institutions. And I say the best way to do this is make a budget available, hire some young kids, or get some young kids involved and let them think what the building or institution is going to look like in the future. And they are so motivated. It's hardly ever a problem to find them or to set them to work and to create new services, change the environment. In Story House, they did a whole new gender neutral toilet, everything that runs in the building. They talk about everything, and it's really working out very well. And I think they even got now like £500,000 from the Arts Council for the next 5 years to curate this group, to let it grow and to work further on this. But it's like I said, it's one way of doing this, and it really works. So I find it.
I'm interested in from the other speakers today, also Maria, Vedrana, Marta, Peter, Katerina. If you think that some of these weird, hard circumstances that we've had these last few years have forced your institutions to change their mindset a little bit, or change the way they think about things, not just in deciding to put things online or not, but really in how they think about service and engagement and impact. Do any of you want to have some thoughts about that? And then we'll absolutely, the floor is open for questions from the rest of the group. You can put something in chat or just raise your hand and I'll pick you out. Maria, you look very thoughtful.
Yeah, I was maybe just about to comment, but now you opened my mouth. Yeah, I think now when we were closed for 5 months last winter, and of course it was so strange. And now when the museum is open and we are like putting down the restrictions and living not like the old days, but getting there, still wearing the masks, but offering a program and activities in museum space, that people are so thankful, and they are really like this is something we have been waiting for, and thank you for organizing this or this. And we have now these open workshops every Saturday, this new program we launched for families just to pop in and pop out. And it has been so popular that we couldn't imagine that there would be so many people coming. So I think this has taught people the meaning of like the what is important and what is not, and how much can you like look the screen because you want to see people in live.
Beautifully said. Peter, how has it been? How has the environment of the pandemic changed the work and thinking of SMAC?
Well, the moment that the lockdown started was actually the starting point of reflection inside the museum and how the museum and the different departments collaborate. I think it's recognizable in many organizations. As soon as you reach about 50 co-workers, that you get silos. And it's very difficult to get silos to work together properly. So the fact that there was suddenly a point zero, that you could take this opportunity and start thinking from scratch. And that is something that we did. If for example, everything that is digital was something that was so-called important until the moment that it had to cost money. Then no, it's not that important. It's more important that we do new exhibitions with that or that artist, for example. Thanks to COVID, well, everything, even the art department started saying, yeah, we should go online. We should do artist talks. We should do sessions online. We should do live video. We should do live Facebook events. See? And these are all the things that weren't existing before or were very hard to sell. And now suddenly there was a demand. So this openness led to a whole array of changes. Now, for example, next week we're opening an exhibition that is completely co-curated with about 300 children from, say, 10 to 20. Yeah? That was impossible beforehand. Now there was suddenly an openness, though, yes, let's do that. It's important that people collaborate. And suddenly it was like all about doing things together and making things happen together across these silos.
That's an amazing story. I want to congratulations, and I want to know more about that that project, Peter. Congratulations. I want to give the microphone to Vedrana and Marta for a second for any kind of closing thoughts you have, and then I'll hand it over to Katerina to wrap up and take us out. So Vedrana and Marta.
Yes, our situation is definitely staying at the point where it was when the COVID started, because we are most of our museum is closed due to the damage of the earthquake. So our permanent display is completely closed, and it's we are unable to get to it or have any visitors because our first, second, and third floor are closed, and we are working only within our space, which is really just for exhibitions. And now we are in the process of evacuation, the whole museum, and
developing strategies to stay visible.
Yes, and we are, I don't know, we are trying to do the best we can. We are involving ourselves in different projects. We are trying to make collaborations with other institutions, with libraries, with other museums, because this will for us be the only way of staying alive in the next 5, maybe even more years.
Yeah. Okay. That's a tough but very realistic note to leave
Yes.
on. We've Katerina's project has highlighted the amazing work that you all have done despite these very difficult circumstances, and all of the other projects as well. For most organizations, it's still very, 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 very difficult to get the good things done. And I hope that today, for those of you who've attended and your networks, this gives you some maybe inspiration or insight or new ways of thinking about moving the things you care about forward. Katerina, do you want to take it home?
A tiny thing that we should have more occasions to talk about these things, and you are cordially invited to our next workshop with another set of speakers, again from this pool of very original 15 practices, many locations in another mix and match of speakers. I would like to close also by thanking you all for being so playful, and to Michael for his talent in orchestrating people and bringing together people from different backgrounds together. Michael, please, up to you to close. That was only my announcement about the next workshop, and I will post the link to the chat.
Perfect. I don't have other words to say other than please stay in touch and go out and do great work. And keep an eye on Katerina and GLAMers.eu for more. And it's been a real honor getting to know all of you and learn from you today. So thanks a million. And thanks to Tamara and the Europeana team for providing us with such great support throughout. So goodbye, everyone.